Hey guys, Ryan from the Mavericks. This is podcast episode 17, and if you want to join us, you can visit our site, mavericks.goldwinandsons.com. Today we are talking about how to manage multiple projects. I'm in the midst of this right now, so I'm going to be talking to you from experience about what is helping me to manage my multiple projects. So first things first, you have to make sure that you are writing down your tasks. When you do not write down your tasks, it leads to three problems. Number one, it leads to unconscious stress. Your brain is right now focusing on the task that you were working on hand, right? But then it is actually dedicating processing power to trying to remember the other tasks that are accumulating in your mind so that it makes sure, so that it knows that it won't forget about it and it won't lead to a fire down the road. That is leading to unconscious stress. That's the first thing that it causes a problem for. The second thing is that if you don't write down your tasks, you end up forgetting to do the important things that will lead to fires in the future. And the third thing is that you end up developing a reputation of always forgetting to do important tasks. And that's a bad reputation. You don't want that. But by writing down your tasks, what ends up happening is you do a data dump of everything accumulating in your brain and you put it on paper, thereby giving your brain permission to let go a little bit of like cognitive real estate to think about something else, right? To think about the task at hand, because it knows that the tasks are recorded somewhere. So unconscious stress goes away. Second thing is, you do the things that you're supposed to do. You don't forget. And the third thing is you develop a good reputation, a reputation of doing the things that need to be done on time for the projects and the goals that you are working on. That is why it is critically important that you write down your tasks before you do anything throughout the day. You manage your whole day from the beginning to the end by tasks that are all written down. Critical. Now, what ends up happening is when you write down your old tasks and you start crossing them all off, because you have written them all down, your brain will be able to zone in on that task and put all of its effort into finishing it off. And so it finishes it off very quickly. And because it is able to finish off each task quickly, you end up getting a chunk of free time at the end of the day. This is the problem that most of us get into. When we see that chunk of free time, we tend to think we're being lazy because there should never be free time in an entrepreneur, careerist, investments, or sportsman life. It must always be filled with something that takes us to the future. Well, that kind of attitude leads to overwork because we end up taking on projects that down the road we won't have the capacity to fulfill. But anyway, we take on these projects, we get overworked, it leads to stress. So now, this is how we get into multiple projects, and this is how we'll manage it. The first thing you have to understand is that when you write down your tasks, you have to group them into your projects that you are working on. And you need to see them independently. Like, you can't mix up your projects together. They need to be independently taken care of. And I'll get into that in more detail. The second thing is you have to understand that in each project, there are subcategories of tasks that you're working on. There are administrative, operational, marketing, human resources, talent management, legal, accounting, all those kind of things. There's different subcategories for each task. So what you need to do is you need to group them into subcategories. And then you need to figure out which tasks are dependent on each other, right? So these are called dependent tasks or dependencies. And what you see is that one task needs to be done before another task can be started. And that task needs to be done before another task can be started. So now what you have are a list of all your projects with all of these categories, with all of these dependent streams of tasks in them. So now you have a way to actually visualize all your projects. Now this is the key. Most people, when they're working on big projects, tend to get overwhelmed because they look at the project as a whole. They take a look at the macro picture of the project and then they get overwhelmed by the scale of what they're trying to achieve. But if you take an engineering approach to projects like this, what you end up doing is you take big projects and you break it down into tiny little tasks, tiny little achievable tasks, and you finish each task at a time. You just focus in on each task. And as you do that, you finish off the large project. And so that's the way engineers are able to build massive buildings and giant bridges, because they see everything in the tiny pieces that then get integrated into a whole, right? So that's your goal. That's how you want to manage large projects. You don't want to see it all at one time. You're going to break it down into little tasks. So this is where you're going to get projects, categories, and tasks, and dependent tasks. But the problem is that you have now gone from not having, you have gone from being stressed about not writing down your tasks to then writing down your tasks and now getting stressed with taking on more projects than you're supposed to. But then when you start managing your projects, like the way I told you, like the way to set it up, you start getting overwhelmed by the number of tasks that have to be completed every day for all of the projects combined. So in every case, one, you're overworking your brain because you're not writing down your tasks. Then two, you're overworking your brain because you are doing multiple projects at the same time. And then three, you're overworking your brain because when you have everything in line, you realize the scale of the number of tasks that have to be completed each day. And this is difficult because before you were overwhelmed with the size of the project, now you're overwhelmed with the size of the number of tasks for all of the projects put together. And this is something that you can't manage. So what you need to do is to do a paradigm shift in the way you manage your projects. So this is where kanban comes in. And this is what I mean. What you do is you take your projects and you break them down, right? So this is project A, B, C. And instead of figuring out what are the categories for each of the projects and what are the dependent tasks, put that to the side and instead come up with 3 columns. The first column is going to be in progress, is going to be to do. Second column is in progress, and the third column is done. You're going to put everything that you need to do in the to do column. Then on a Monday or whatever day you choose to actually overlook your whole project and try to figure out what needs to be done in the week, that could be a Monday. You spend time figuring out what to do tasks you're going to try and achieve this week. So you move them into in progress. And then all you do is every single day, dedicate time, like an hour or 2 per project, and focus in on checking off as many of the in progress items as possible from each project. Don't mix them up. Do each project independently. Take a look at project A, what is in progress, and achieve as many of those as you can on the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then look at project B and do as many of the in progress tasks as you can, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Do the same thing with project C. What you'll end up finding out is that you will achieve all your project tasks at lightning speed, and you will go from being overworked to becoming a lean, efficient project management machine. Because what has happened is you have taken a new paradigm approach to project management. You are able to focus in on each project independently, and you are able to focus in on each task that has to be done for the project. Not the to-do, not the done tasks, only what's in progress. And that gets you the ability to focus in and channel all your cognitive powers towards achieving those single tasks. That's why this method is very efficient in being able to ensure that number 1, you don't deal with unconscious stress. Number 2, you don't forget important tasks. And number 3, you don't develop a bad reputation. Does that make sense? Right? Give it a thumbs up if it makes sense. Rate it, like it, share it. We'd really appreciate it. But leave a comment as well if there's a capacity in the medium that you're looking this video in. If there's a capacity to leave a comment, tell me your thoughts on what I'm talking about. And if it's helped you, please consider giving a thumbs up. So let's review. What we talked about was how to manage multiple projects. The first thing is baseline. You have to write down your tasks. If you don't write down your tasks, you're going to deal with unconscious stress. You're going to forget tasks, and you're going to develop a bad reputation. But if you write down your tasks, you're going to get rid of that stress. You're not going to forget to do the important things, and you're going to develop a great reputation. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, we tend to take on more work when we become more efficient, because we tend to say to ourselves, all right, only a lazy person doesn't do anything in their free time. I'm not a lazy person, so we tend to take up more projects than we're supposed to. And so inevitably, we need to figure out how to manage all of our projects. Now, what will happen is you'll categorize your projects into projects, categories, and then dependent tasks, but then you'll get overwhelmed by the number of tasks you have to deal with for all the different projects every single day. So the way to overcome that is to have a paradigm shift in how you manage projects. And that is, each project has its own kanban board of to do, in progress, and done. You take the to do items, you review them on a Monday, and you put them into in progress for the tasks you want to complete that week. Then that week you dedicate each day, a portion of each day, to completing all the in progress items in project A, B, and C. You do that until Saturday, until all the items are done. And you're going to move at lightning speed. You'll be a lean, mean project management machine. The key here, though, is one more caveat. You might be tempted to overwork yourself again and load in more projects. And some people are able to do it, But I would just say, listen, like if you look back at my last video on duty, the purpose of life is not to be working. We're not human doings, we're human beings, right? We're supposed to be present. We're supposed to enjoy the moment. And so when you have done all the things that you were supposed to do, don't add more to your plate. Go home, celebrate with your family and your children, celebrate with your faith, but actually go and take a step back and take a breather and recover. Every athlete knows that the harder you work, the greater the recovery time you need to do. So if you are working so hard trying to manage all these projects and achieve everything that needs to be done, you need to recover. Your brain also needs to recover. So don't hesitate to do that. Now, as always, I encourage you, join our group, mavericks.goldwinandsons.com. I have a whole bunch of free gifts for you that will really help you in your journey towards trying to get to the first million and beyond, autonomy over income. And I'm talking about resources for starting a business, specifically resources about starting a business, but entrepreneurship is there, but we also advocate for careerists, investors, athletes, and you'll enjoy what we have to offer. So again, mavericks.goldwinandsons.com. I hope to see you there. This is Ryan. Take care.